welcome to this deep dive. You sent us a really fascinating stack of military history sources focusing on the de-induction of forces.
Yeah, it's a super complex topic.
It really is. And looking through your notes, a central question just immediately jumped out at us. Like, why does the end of a military operation depend just as much on politics as it does on battlefield results?
Well, I mean, it comes down to a fundamental difference in requirements. Launching an operation requires military capability, right? You need the logistics, the armor, the troops to actually execute a mission.
Tactical stuff.
Exactly. But ending one, that requires an agreed-upon end state. You need a viable exit strategy and, honestly, sustainable political alignment.
Which brings us to the specific case study in your sources. We are looking at the withdrawal of the Indian Peacekeeping Force, or the IPKF from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and the irony here is just incredible. The IPKF had actually achieved significant military progress right before their exit. Yeah, they had put immense pressure on the insurgency. They restored civil administration, and they actually secured the provincial election.
Okay, so they were doing exactly what they set out to do.
They were. They literally created an environment that was stable enough for Sri Lanka to hold general election.
But wait, that military success is exactly what doomed them politically, right?
Basically, yes.
Because by stabilizing the region enough for those elections, they inadvertently paved the way for Mr. R. Premadasa to become president.
Yeah.
And he was, well, fundamentally opposed to the Indo-Sri Lanka Peace Accord.
Oh, he absolutely hated it.
Like the sources say, he even traveled to Japan just to avoid being in the country when it was originally signed?
Yeah, that is a pretty strong political statement. So he takes power, and the strategic environment changes practically overnight.
Wow.
And then he immediately demands the IPKF withdraw by July 29, 1989. The initial host nation consent had just completely evaporated.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. It is like successfully putting out a fire in your neighbor's house, right? Only for a new homeowner to move in, decide they hate you, and demand you leave immediately.
That is a great analogy, but it gets crazier. Because when his political demands didn't immediately move the Indian government, Premadasa radically shifted his strategy.
What did you do?
He formed an alliance with the LTTE, that is the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam.
Wait, the primary separatist group, the IPKF, was originally deployed to disarm.
The very same.
So going back to my analogy, that's like the new homeowner not only kicking you out, but literally handing a shotgun to the arsonist.
Basically, yeah. I mean, Premadasa actually provided the LTTE with arms and ammunition to fight the Indian forces.
That is just wild. Two warring parties teaming up to seek their exit? How does that even happen?
Well, if you look at the stakeholder matrix from the sources, you see these conflicting strategic assumptions driving this bizarre alliance.
Okay, so they both wanted the IPKF out, obviously.
Right, but for totally different reasons. Premadasa assumed the IPKF had weakened the LTTE enough that once the Indians left, the Sri Lankan army could just easily wipe them out.
Oh, I see. And let me guess, the LTTE thought the exact opposite.
Exactly. The LTTE assumed that without the IPKF there as a buffer, they could easily defeat the Sri Lankan military.
So two warring parties teaming up purely because they both miscalculated who would win the resulting power vacuum.
Precisely. Which leaves the IPKF caught in this massive operational paradox.
Because they are still on the ground.
Right. They had to continue anti-LTTE operations, maintain troop morale, and protect their forces.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It was, all while actively planning to leave a country where both the government and the insurgents were suddenly aligned against them.
How do you even handle that trap? I mean, physically packing up and leaving under those conditions without getting routed. You can't just casually load chips while taking fire.
No, you definitely can't. They had to meticulously sequence the de-induction.
Makes sense.
To actually leave safely, the IPKF had to consolidate their spread out bases. They had to physically lock down logistical corridors leading to the ports.
Just securing the route out.
Yeah, and they kept their armor fully visible to deter attacks while the ships were being loaded.
Did they have to, threaten them to back off?
Well, they drew a hard line. They warned the Sri Lankan government that any military attempt to forcefully remove the IPKF would trigger a massive conventional response from the full Indian armed forces.
Which shows that withdrawal does not equal vulnerability, right?
Exactly.
You still have to project total strength and credibility while you were packing your bag.
You do. And ultimately, a change in the Indian government in December 1989 provided the political direction they really needed.
Right, a strategic reassessment?
Yeah, they initiated an orderly, planned withdrawal. Disengage, concentrate, move, and recover.
And that culminated in a ceremonial farewell on March 24th, 1990.
Yes, it did.
So looking at the full campaign cycle in your sources, from induction to peacekeeping, counterinsurgency, and finally de-induction, it is so clear that you can win the firefights. But if the political ground shifts beneath your feet, your military achievements just cannot sustain the mission.
And that is the core strategic lesson here for you listening. Military pressure alone cannot create a permanent solution if the host nation's political consent disappears.
A political settlement is decisive.
Absolutely.
Which leaves you with a really provocative thought to mull over after this deep dive.
Oh, for sure.
Given the fatal miscalculations made by both the Sri Lankan government and the LTTE about who would easily win once the IPKF left, how did this hasty, cynical political alliance ultimately reshape the island's future balance of power?